Welcome to the Daily DLP. I'm your host, Ash Thompson, and today I'm previewing the Buccaneers defense in advance of their playoff matchup with the Detroit Lions. Let's get it on! All right, let's get straight to it. I already did a Bucs preview because the Lions played them previously. You want details? Go there. These are not the same Bucs that the Lions face, though, honestly. So don't go there and watch that. Their defense is kind of a study in like the brilliance of Todd Bowles in being able to cover the weaknesses of his personnel with scheme. One thing you absolutely need to do when you're playing the Buccaneers, though, is you need to keep the ball away from Antoine Winfield. Absolutely nowhere near him. He is their best defensive player, and it is not particularly close. PFF had his grade over 90, and Pro Football Reference had his AV at 14. An acceptable starter on that scale gets about 7, just to be clear. AV is a stat I'll probably be using a lot as well as we go forward when I'm looking at free agents and stuff like that. Because all it does is compare the positive and negative plays that happen in the area of the field that a player is playing on. It's a nice counterpoint to PFF because they measure two completely different things. PFF grades measure the process that a player uses during the game, not the results. AV measures the results, not the process. So if a quarterback throws a screen pass and that goes for 80 yards, quarterback gets AV. Doesn't get PFF grade, if that makes sense. So it's just good things happen when the ball is in the vicinity of this player if they have a high AV stat. Anyway, if a guy has both, he had a really, really good year, and Winfield's an All-Pro. Didn't make the Pro Bowl, which should tell you a lot about the validity of those two awards. One of them is a legitimate award that matters, and the other one is a popularity contest among fans and players who don't line up against these guys. He's a safety with 6 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, and 3 interceptions on the season to go with his 122 tackles. That is a guy covering for everyone. He like I said, he was their best defensive player, and it's not even a question. In the first game, Detroit kept him from impacting anything, basically. He had 4 tackles, nothing else. Do that again, but do it differently, because the Bucs have the tape of that. And the mistake a lot of teams make when they play a team for the second time after dominating them, and this was Jared Goff's highest yardage on the season, is that they try to do the exact same thing they did the first time, but the thing is the other team will have spent all week studying that. So it almost never works a second time, unless the other team just physically cannot stop something. Like if there is a corner that you can just keep victimizing, you victimize them until they do something to stop that from happening. But that's not really what this was. But they do need to find new ways to accomplish the same things. So what they need to do here is they need to stress the safety on the field that is not Antoine Winfield Jr. Outside of that, the Bucs have 2 defenses, essentially. They have the one where Vita Vea is playing, and that's 35 to 50 snaps, depending on the week. That's the defense that stops the run. Like, it is really difficult to run the ball when Vita Vea is on the field, as was shown in last week's tush push that didn't work. Not something that's really happened much this year. That very quick, very big man is one of the key reasons that worked. The rest of the snaps are played against a defense that you can bury with the running game. But the thing is, you can't let him take you out of your game. Like, teams were only 31 of 47 on 3rd and less than 3. And on 4th and less than 3, they were 9 of 14. That was the conversion right there. They only gave up 82 yards on 42 rush attempts on third and fourth down with less than 3 yards to gain. That's just under 2 yards per carry in third and fourth and short. The Lions were 34 for 55 on third and less than 3, 17 of 29 on fourth and less than 3. They went for it a lot more than teams went for it against the Bucs, and part of the reason for that is the presence of that big guy in the middle making teams just not really do it. The Lions gained 132 yards on 38 rushing attempts in those situations for a 3.5 yard average. Basically, like, the Lions need to simultaneously pull off two things. They need to hit holes on the interior of their offensive line, and they need to mitigate V to V. Which sounds contradictory, but the other defensive, like interior defensive linemen for the Bucs are terrible. They're like legitimately awful at stopping the run. It's Kalijah Cansey, who some of you may recall from him having been called the next Aaron Donald by a bunch of people who didn't know what they were talking about last draft cycle. He's not that. He's a finesse player, as is every defensive tackle who's ever been 280 pounds in the history of football, other than Aaron Donald when he was drafted. There is no next Aaron Donald, just to be 100% clear on that. He was the next Reggie White. Anyway, you can't overpower V. It's just not something you can realistically expect, at least not one-on-one. So you need to trap linemen into him, hit him from the side with tight ends, get him rolling away from where you're going with the ball, because the guy who is left is not good. He's a smart enough player to not go silently into the night, though. He's not some mindless gap shooter that you can just let go 9 yards deep in the backfield away from the play. That's not really his game. He's stout in the middle. He is very, very good at not letting himself get pushed, but you need to find a way to get him out of the way so you can make plays. Like, slow developing stuff just gives him time to work towards the play. It also gives their athletic linebackers time to get to the hole. Like, wide stuff, outside runs, probably not the way to go here. Like, all that stuff that makes the linebacker run sideline to sideline, that's exactly what the Bucs want you to do, because they have two linebackers in White and David that can do that. Like, outside zone is probably not what you want to run here. So, of course, now the Lions are going to score 3 touchdowns on outside zone runs where the back is like super patient and delays, just because I've said that. Just going to use game one between the Eagles and Bucs as an example of something here. In the first game, the Eagles ran the ball 40 times, and they won by 2 scores. Last weekend, they ran the ball 15 times for 42 yards for just under 3 yards per carry. Like, that's the other key here. The big, big key. Teams that can run on the Bucs win. That's all year. Even if the Lions do get down by a couple scores early, and with the Bucs receivers and Baker Mayfield, that is a possibility that we all need to prep for and not go into panic mode, particularly if our name is Ben Johnson and we are the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. There have been a few times this year where the Lions just completely abandoned what is the best part of their offense because they got down a little bit with a lot of time left. They cannot do that and generally expect to be successful. In the first game, they were missing Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery went down early in the game, so they basically just had Craig Reynolds and some scotch tape. I think Divine Ozigbo was the other running back that they used in that game, if I remember correctly. But they did have a 2-to-1 pass run ratio, so like they passed 44 times and ran the ball 22 times. That's why they only scored 20 points. And if they only score 20 points again, they are probably not going to win this game. Like, with access to Gibbs and Montgomery this week, the closer they get to inverting that ratio to a 2-to-1 run versus pass, the more likely the Lions are to win this game. So that's all I really have to say about this as far as the Bucs defense goes. Stay away from Winfield, but victimize whatever other safety the Bucs are playing, which means you got to protect long enough to get guys to that safety. That's how this works. That's what they did with JMO last time. That's how he got a touchdown. Do more of that, but differently. The key is to not do the exact same thing because they'll have seen that now and got to pull your pants down a different way, I guess is what I'm saying there. Everyone but Vita V sucks at stopping the run. Don't let him stop you from running even when he's on the field. Figure out a way to make him not stop you. That's absolutely vital for the Lions. The more they run it, the better this game is going. That's a litmus test for fans. If they're going run, pass, and not having a 3 and out, this is a very good day. That's how the Lions offense can broadside the Buccaneers defense. Because everything has to be about Pirates. I'll have some draft stuff dropping on the weekend. Subscribe and click the bell for notifications of when that happens. Peace.